Alright, so this is how the part runs. So let's go back to position, shut off the coolant, and let's rock and roll. So it's gonna do 3 passes. Now this is that spot face, just to make sure everything's in line. And now it's gonna be a drill. So drill was pretty quick. So gotta turn on the coolant. This is a crown drill, so it's got a carbide tip, 930,000 diameter. And like you see, the part's pretty out kind of far. So if there's a way to do parts like that halfway, then flip it and then do the other half, usually the other half is gonna, like at least 2 inches. You can put that, or even, I mean, most of the part you can put inside of the chuck. That way it's going to be a less chatter, plus you don't have to pull out the bar that far. Okay, so now it's going to be that 3/4 carbide bar that does 1 pass for roughing. Same thing, this is I got a TPC done on it, so she only retracts 20,000 instead of 80, to make sure there's enough clearance for chips and such, just in case if anything stays. Having a high pressure coolant also helps washing out all the chips from inside versus if you have a regular pump. Okay, so that was a rougher, and that was a finisher. But it still left 2000 stock that we later we remove after the oil groove is done. This is a 35-degree bar that's doing that undercut right now, right here. So that's gonna be roughing and finishing. That's where that oil groove is. It's gonna be ending, so you have to, like you see over here, it passes all the way through here. There's a better picture of it here. The grooving, that oil groove is actually done with a small bar, a grooving bar. So it tells you again 120,000. That's going to be 30,000 deep and 120,000 wide. So right now, as you can see, but it's 70 RPM, so it's slow RPM, and it's doing 3 inches lead. It's going it's going there pretty quick, so I don't want to shut off the coolant. Okay, so now we have that first finish that's gonna clean up that any burrs thrown in by that grooving bar that's doing that oil spiral, and then it's just gonna remove another 1,000 to kind of clean it up and give me a nice finish. If you try to do a larger cut on the surface and it's hitting that groove, it might give you a little chatter, and that finish is not going to come out as nice. Also, last finish, I dropped the RPMs a little bit. Same thing, it's sometimes higher RPMs give you better results. Sometimes low RPMs will give you better results. Same, like I said, I mean, usually when you do these interrupted cuts, it's it's just something you have to try for yourself what works better. And this is roughing. The outside diameter is going to be full finished because we do support it with the tailstock. And like I said before, I tried to run it without tailstock and just the groovings and everything, and same thing as the slot. I just had too much chatter, and it just took me to, it was too much work for cleaning it up. So this is a face finish. So my finish, so the face and the ID, it's already done. Now, automatic tailstock. Okay, so now it's slowing down. So the first piece when you're gonna be done, let me stop this. So first piece when you're gonna be done, bring the tailstock manually. Okay, lock it in, make sure it beeps, and then you go to setup info, do the tailstock use, go to tailstock position 1, and once you press 1, you're gonna have teach. So you press that teach, and you get a number, and that number, it means this is a position 1. So right before the part, it's gonna slow down. Okay. So now we're running the finish. Let's turn this unit off. This is a pretty soft material, so it doesn't generate a lot of heat for most part, but it's still like this is a minus 1000 tolerance, so it's better to run with a coolant just in case. If, like I said, sometimes when you use a steel or hard steel, running part without a coolant will get the material hot, and when you measure, once it cools down, it's actually it's gonna lose about 1000 or 2000. It depends on the part. Aluminum is very it's pretty tricky. So running first groove. This one's a little bit different. It's narrower, but it's deeper than the first two. Okay, now it's gonna do a flat. Okay, once it's gonna do a slot, I'll come back. Okay, so now it's doing the pilot hole or center hole for the drill. Okay, and now it's time to cut off. So tailstock retract. And always when you do these things, make sure your milling holders will clear. Let's see, will clear the jaws. Sometimes that can be a problem. Okay, there's not much to see now. So the coolant. Okay, and she's done. Now, if you do have critical measurements and you do want to make sure that your diameters, like the inside and outside, are within tolerance, obviously now it's almost cut off, so all you have to do is a sledgehammer and it falls off. Then what you can do is you can add, let me see. I have like M1. Okay, so once you do that, M1, it's an optional stop. So once it's gonna, let's say, before that, I have OD outside diameter turning. Before the cutoff, let's say you put M1. So when you run everything, do optional stop. When you press the optional stop, it's gonna read that M1. It's gonna stop before it starts to cut off the part. I don't know if it's gonna. Let me see. Give me a second. See, I gotta hold my phone, and it breaks off. So this is the part done. So like I said, the whole OD is done. This section is done, and all we have left later is the second part. So yeah, this is how. This is just one of the ways you can run parts like that. Any bushings, and sometimes, like I said, you can just change your priorities if things don't work right. Usually, if it's a longer part, you have a chatter. It's good just to finish your ID. If there's a chance, you can support it with the tailstock. So you still have a little more material on the OD, so there's more rigidity to the part. So the part is just more steady. Once you rough the OD, and like I said, you have thin walls. That's so at times these things happen where just everything chatters. So like I said, you can try doing outside first, but then you might have an issue with the inside. That was the case. So it took me a couple of pieces to kind of switch around and just find the best way to do it. That's what machining is. It's pretty much troubleshooting. Sometimes you can have a part that runs twice good, and third time it's gonna run like shit. Same thing. It might be this. You might use the same material, might be a different batch. That happens, especially with the long pieces, long shafts, and stuff like that. Well, hopefully you got something out of it. I'll keep posting videos, and like I said, somebody maybe get something out of it. Thank you.